moving on to the NFL picks this week. I've been doing really good with all kind of picks, college and NFL lately. I've kind of been a fire, and you know why? Because I stopped gambling. So, of course, every pick I'm picking is just fire right now. Because I stopped. I was just tired of gambling. Cause, you know, it wasn't all breaking even every week, Joe. It was just like I was yelling and screaming for like 48 hours every weekend for nothing. I was just breaking even. I was like, why am I doing this? You know, let me just because I still get just as upset with no money on the game. So I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so empty inside. But we'll move inside. We'll go to the Thursday night game because this is just awful. And that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the St. Louis Rams. Tampa Bay is a 1.5-point underdog going into St. Louis. I expected Tampa Bay to really, really rack up the points against Atlanta, and they did it. You know, not Atlanta, New Orleans, and they did it. You know, they kind of like, I don't know what happened to them in that game. But the Rams don't impress me at all. They don't. Like, aside from the running game, I have no faith in their quarterback. Their defense, I thought, was going to be a lot better. Just give me Tampa Bay. Give me a Lovie Smith coach defense. And they're going to isolate. They're going to isolate anything St. Louis can do well, which is just run the ball. So I think Tampa Bay wins this by a field goal.
Yeah, Rams are a mess. It's a shame. I mean, you look at them, and I don't care if you have Todd Gurley or not. You can't do anything without a quarterback. You can't do anything without a good coaching staff. Yeah, they're a mess right now. I can't see where the future is. You can say, oh, well, they got Todd Gurley, so they can build around that. Okay, that's great, but what are you going to build around that? I mean, there's nothing there existing that really gives you much to build off of going into the offseason. So, yeah, I'm concerned about these guys. Not a believer in Nick Foles, you know, moving forward. So, yeah, give me Tampa Bay. I think they're more structured to win, and at this point, it's just continuing to get Jameis Winston those game reps. And I think a game like this, it's not flashy, but it's good for his overall development. So, yeah, give me the Bucs.
What happened to the Rams? Like, it seemed like a year ago, 2 years ago, it seemed like they were going to have one of the youngest and strongest trench groups in the world, defensive line and offensive line, and it kind of just fallen apart, and I don't get it, because I really thought the Rams were building something really strong on the offensive line and the defensive line, and it's just not working out, and maybe Jeff Fisher, he may have to go. I don't know what it is, but the Rams are really disappointing this year.
Yeah, it's been surprising. I mean, I think that you can look at them and they have the pieces in place, but I think it always comes back to you're not the team you are on paper. You're on the team that you come out on Sunday, and that's what the Rams right now. It's just on paper it looks pretty decent when you head into the season, but at this point you can say, I don't know, it is tricky because you want to say Jeff Fisher maybe is the guy, but it's been production too. It's been a combination of things. They just don't look very good and they're not producing, so it's a combination. And I'd definitely be concerned if I'm a Rams fan moving forward just because you got to look and say, okay, we got Gurley, but what else?
The Saturday game this week, that's pretty awesome. We got a Saturday game at 8:25, and it features the New York Jets, who I have adopted as probably the only New York team I won't say root for. I got a soft place in my heart for the New York Jets, and they've really been looking really good. They're a 3-point favorite against the Dallas Cowboys, who are just falling apart. I don't care what you want to say about the Redskins game. Everybody kind of knew the Redskins were going to lose that game on Monday Night Football. It was just, everybody just knew it, you know? But it was just one of those things. The NFC East, like, there's going to be no separation. Everybody knew that was going to happen. But the Jets are a 3-point favorite, and why? I don't know why they're only a 3-point favorite. I don't care if they're on the road. The Jets should have no problems with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to score, and not for nothing, this Jets offense is on fire right now. Fitzpatrick, he's feeling confident. The receivers, Decker and Marshall, I don't think anybody's outplaying this wide receiver duo right now in the league. You've got to take the Jets right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the league.
You know, I think earlier in the season we didn't buy into the Jets because it was just the Jets. Sometimes I think that comes into play where you don't believe in the team because you've seen what they have been in the past and you don't realize that they have actually changed their ways and have really built a championship contending team. As weird as that sounds, it could happen. I mean, they could find themselves in the AFC Championship game if the cards fall the right way, because you look at Cincinnati right now, obviously with Dalton out there done. You have New England at the top. Could the Jets compete with Denver? I'm not so sure they couldn't at this point. I know the Denver defense is good, but when you look at that offense, are you really sold that Brock Osweiler can continue to put up 25, 30 points a game? I'm not. And when you look on the other side, Ryan Fitzpatrick, how about him this year? I mean, how about Ryan Fitzpatrick? Good for him, finally just getting a team and saying, I'm going to take these guys. He's got a tremendous group around him, and he's taking advantage of it. So I can totally see the Jets squeaking in as a 5 seed, maybe making a run at this thing. As weird as it sounds, they're not the Jets anymore. They're a darn good football team.
I think a lot of the reason why I didn't take the Jets is because I really thought Buffalo was going to be what the Jets are right now. You know, I really bought more into Buffalo.
Sure.
They had LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins, they had Robert Woods, Charles Clay. You know, they have Rex Ryan there. They already had the defense in place. Buffalo was just, I don't know, they're just kind of plodding away. And it's a weird thing because Tyrod Taylor, I actually like the way Tyrod Taylor's played. You know, I don't think he's a scrub or anything like that. I think he's a very efficient quarterback, and you know he's a tough quarterback to game plan around. You know, but matter of fact, let's go to the Bills right now. The Bills playing the Washington Redskins. This is actually a pretty interesting game for everything we just said about the Bills, and everything we just said about the Redskins. They're in that NFC East division that nobody seems like they want to win, and the Bills are mathematically alive. But right now, it's a hard place to be looking up at when you look at the New England Patriots and the New York Jets, who are clearly just playing better. But this is a must-win for both these teams. I'm going to go with the Bills on the road over here, though. Like I said, I like Tyrod Taylor, and everything else the Bills package rings, and I think the Bills pull one off on the road.
Yeah, well, here's a situation, I think, when you wonder, okay, the game's being played at Washington, but can you really give the Redskins a home field advantage? I mean, do they really have that crowd that's really going to put, or the atmosphere that's really going to put you in a bad mood and not make you play good all day? I just don't think right now you can give Washington that elite home field advantage label, and I think if you're putting these two teams on a neutral turf, Buffalo should win. You know, Washington, they should be out of the playoff contention by now. They just should be. I mean, it's the byproduct of the division that they're in. They should be out, and we should be moving on. But because of the situation they're in, they're not a great football team. They're good, and they can show up in big games like we saw against, the Buccaneers. But it's Buccaneers. They haven't proven that they can be a legitimate team. And I think with everything on the line, I'm going to go with a Rex Ryan team that really desperately needs to win. I think they stay alive for one more week just because they're really the better team than Washington.
Man, it's just a weird NFC East division. You got to look at the Chicago Bears right now, 5.5-point underdog going into Minnesota. I mean, when it comes to Chicago, if they're getting points, you pretty much got to take them this year because all their games are coming down to the last 5 minutes. Poor Robbie Gould. It looks like he's had a great career for Chicago, and he's spent his whole career in Chicago, but it's been a great NFL career. But it looks like it might be over for Robbie Gould. He just can't hit anything in the clutch or anything anymore. Vikings should win this game. They're a better all-around team, but the Bears are going to hang around. The Bears are going to be pesky. John Fox coached the team up really well to be competitive this year.
Yeah, you know Chicago will keep this one close, and I think a lot of that is just due to Minnesota isn't exactly the firepower team that we thought they might be. I think they're a good team, don't get me wrong. They're going to go to the playoffs, and they'll get things done, but I just don't think that they're the elite team that's going to carry themselves. Look, we were talking a few weeks ago going into that big game that maybe they could compete with Carolina, but I think it's pretty clear now that they're still a young, developing team. They're going to get better as the years go on. This year, you just have to say that they're going to come up a little bit short, no matter what way you look at it. Whoever they run into, whether it would be Carolina, whether it would be Seattle, I'm just not so sold that Minnesota can make that run. I mean, do they really have enough there? You have an elite Adrian Peterson, but around him you have just a very young, developing, good growing team. But at this point, I just don't believe in them to go all the way. So I think they get a win here. Chicago season over. It's been rough for our teams this year, but we're hanging on. I mean, I know we're hanging on. I mean, maybe I want to lose. Maybe I want my Ravens to lose to get Joey Bosa, but no, I like Minnesota here. Should win pretty big too.
You know, it's funny. Like for Bears fans, this hasn't been that bad of a year though, because it looks a lot better than we did last year. We were getting blown out by 30 points last year. You know, there was locker room turmoil. We had an idiot head coach who you guys inherited as offensive coordinator. You know, and it's just like for us, it's been a step up. Actually, it's a losing record. You know, if we finish with 6-7 wins this year, I mean, I actually thought the Bears would finish with 7 wins this year. There's still a chance for that, slight chance. You know, but for us, for you guys, a lot more disappointing. You know, like you guys are always expected to get to the playoffs, so a lot more disappointing. Matter of fact, let's go to that. The Chiefs, 7-point favorite on the road going into Baltimore to play your Ravens. How do you see it, Joe?
Just a huge game for Kansas City. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, I know every game recently has been a huge game, and they just keep rattling off the wins. I mean, this is a team that's doing it all without Jamal Charles, with 4th, 5th string running backs in the game, and overall, they've all just stepped up. They never gave up. The defense has stepped up, and it's been a crutch when they needed it to. I tell you what, Alex Smith's not playing bad. I like this Kansas City team. They're sneaky good getting in. I think they could win. They could win out, and if they do, they'll be in the playoffs. So I'm sold. I really am. I think Kansas City going up against whoever it may be, Jimmy Clausen, Matt Schaub. This is not a bad Kansas City team. I think they win big. I mean, look, it doesn't matter if the Ravens are at home. Everybody's hurt. You're essentially playing a Week 4 preseason team. No reason Kansas City can't and shouldn't win this game.
I think Kansas City's a terrible team, but they've been just getting really, and their schedule's just really favorable to them. I don't think Kansas City is a good team at all. I think there's the kind of team that if they do. I think there's the kind of team that if they get into the playoffs, it's an easy win for whoever they play against. I mean, that's the way I see it. I give Andy Reid credit though for all his running backs to keep dropping. He just puts a new one in there, and the guy throwing for 100 yards. Doesn't matter who he has a running back. But Baltimore just in a bad spot this year, so I give it to Kansas City, even with the 7 points. The Atlanta Falcons playing the Jaguars. Jaguars 3-point favorite at home. Atlanta got to win sometime, right? If they win it all again this year, it has to be against Jack. I'm not taking anything away from Jacksonville. Huge Allen Robinson fan. He's steadily becoming one of my favorite players in the league, Allen Robinson. But I just want to give the Falcons a win over here. I just want to.
Yeah, but whenever you want to or think they're going to win, they Falcons everything. They're becoming like the NFC's Cleveland Browns. It's so sad. I feel like that's the track they're on right now. Even with Matt Ryan at quarterback, nothing's going right for these guys. It's a shame to see. I know they're young and everything. It's an overreaction on my part, but it isn't because they've let me down. I bought in. I was loving this team. I thought, man, this is the team this year. Like who heck was Carolina? This Atlanta team was legitimate. All of a sudden they just completely fall off a cliff. I mean, I don't know how it happened, when it happened, but I can't trust these guys to do anything. I like Jacksonville. I'm a young, up-and-coming team. I'll take them over Atlanta, who just crushed my spirit this year.
The Tennessee Titans, 14-point underdogs going into New England. Just give me New England. I don't care. They could have been 30 points. I would have took New England.
Yeah, Tennessee can't do anything right. Did you see them leave Brandon Marshall wide open last week? That was sad. I mean, they can't do anything right. And it's not even Ken Wisenhunt anymore, and they're still doing these things. So, yeah, give them the Patriots.
Just a bad team. And it was good to see Gronk back on the field looking good after just 1 week out. He's one of the most exciting players to watch in the league, so it's good to see him back in there. The Houston Texans and the Colts, there's no line yet because Andrew Luck is supposedly practicing this week, so he might make his comeback. I don't think it makes a difference. I think Houston wins this game. I think Houston's just a better team.
Yeah, but you have to realize we're setting up for a potential T.J. Yates versus Charlie Whitehurst quarterback matchup. I mean, that's for the lead of the AFC South. I mean, if all goes well, because Yates is starting for the Texans, if I'm not mistaken, and then I think in Indianapolis, if Hasselbeck's out, if Luck comes back, but I want to see a Charlie Whitehurst versus T.J. Yates game. I mean, that would be more entertaining to me than anything else. Heck, they should put it on prime time. Give me T.J. Yates. He's a gamer.
T.J. Yates. Where do you go? UNC, and he threw to Hakeem Nicks, right? That's what it was?
Yeah.
UNC was throwing to Hakeem Nicks. All right. Arizona Cardinals going against the Philadelphia Eagles in an old-school NFC East matchup, which I never understood how the Cardinals were in that division because they played all the way on the West Coast. But the Cardinals are a 3.5-point favorite against the Eagles. Give me the Cardinals over here. It's hard to go against the Cardinals. They're one of the most balanced teams in the league, and I really like Michael Floyd as well. When Michael Floyd is healthy, he puts up about 80 yards a touchdown in his sleep. The Eagles are playing a little better. I think the Eagles stick around for a little while. They're a feisty kind of team, but you can't go against the Cardinals. It's just hard to go against.
Still mad at Chip Kelly for letting my Super Bowl pick just fall completely flat on their faces. Just ridiculous. Cardinals the better team. I'm mad at Chip Kelly, so give me Arizona.
The Panthers are a 5-point favorite going into New York to play the Giants. I think the Panthers always have the Giants number, and this was, even like bad Panthers teams, for some reason, just always have the Giants number. This shouldn't be any more different. The Giants defense is terrible. Their offense, it's a one-trick pony with Odell Beckham Jr. The Panthers have a great defense, and Cam Newton is playing like he was in Auburn, which means this is his playground, so give me Cam Newton all day.
Yeah, that Carolina defense in their meeting room, they have one goal and one goal only, and that's to stop Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, they're going to put a safety over the top. They're going to double-team him all day and let Eli Manning beat them with a Reuben Randall. It's just not going to happen. Carolina got this one locked up. It should be over by halftime because they're going to put all the emphasis on stopping Beckham you better believe this Carolina defense with Josh Norman and all the weapons they have back there, it's a spirited group. They're not going to let OBJ beat them. Should be a blowout by halftime.